Whenever I find a coin like this, the adrenaline.
Go.
Whenever I find a coin like this, the adrenaline rush that goes through me.
Don't turn your head. Don't
I
turn.
thought you said turn.
Yeah.
When I find a coin like this, the adrenaline rush that goes. I can't say adrenaline.
The adrenaline. Okay, go.
The adrenaline. Well, come on, really? Who does that? Alright, hey everybody, Popcan Dan. Man, 2024 is in the books. It's done. It's done. I can't believe we are into 2025, and I'm just going to let you in on a little secret for your friends. 2025 marks the 31st anniversary for me metal detecting. March of 1994. That's when I started, actually got a metal detector in my hand. So 31 years metal detecting, man, that's crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Yeah, it's been such a crazy roller coaster ride of a year for me as well. Both personal wise, in my life and with work, with all kinds of stuff, man. I've been tested this year, I'll put it to you that way. So my, I don't want to, this is all about metal detecting, so I don't want to get too much into my personal, life and stuff like that. But it's part and parcel for the reason I didn't get out a whole lot this year. And I really wanted to, and a lot of it was just my personal life and my work just really restricted my time out there metal detecting. And so it should. It's it definitely, a metal detector is not top of my list in my life by any means. I know a lot of you will go, it isn't mine, but it's not mine, man. My family is number one. My work is number two. Providing for my family is definitely second, and then behind that, then you start to get into other small things. My hobbies. And I do got a lot of hobbies, man. I go, I camp. I fish, I write songs. I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, and I also metal detect. And trying to fit all of this in is really hard to do. And when you, especially when I'm not saying, when your personal life and your work and stuff really starts stretching your boundaries, it's not the easiest to get all these things. To feed your hunger, these things you love to do. So I tried to balance it out a little bit, and I guess I did. So, but yeah, man, this year, 2025, it's funny because I ended off 2024 with a really cool permission that I got in the middle of 2024, but when I got the permission for this field, the corn was already halfway high, and it was like, I can't get in there till they pull the corn. And they pulled the corn right at the beginning of December. And I was able to get in, no, actually it was later than that. It was like mid-December. And I was able to get in just before Christmas. And I had a quick spin of the field, and it produced some cool stuff. It really did. And, on the 1876 map, sorry, I got gas. I just ate dinner. On the 1876 map, there was a house there. The funny thing was, when I went to this field and I got the permission, I've been trying to get permission in that field for 10 years too. Developers owned it and everything, and I couldn't get in there. And just in talking with my good farmer buddy, Terry, and his son Keith, and I found out that they actually worked that field. They leased the field. And Terry said to me, hey, I leased the field, you go in the field. I'm like, what? I didn't even know this. So once the corn had come out, I had the chance to get in, do a quick spin in the field, and it produced immediately. I was getting relics. I got an 1859 Canadian large cent, and I knew that was there. And the neighbor came across the road, this older man, and his, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Bruno. And Bruno comes across the road and he goes, hey, how are you doing? You know, you're good. And he's not being, you know, what are you doing here? He was just curious. And I told him, I said, hey man, there was a house in this field, you know, and it's on the 1876 map. And he goes, I bought this piece of land across the road here in 1979 and built this house. He said, and I've never even heard anyone ever say that there was a house in the field across the road. And I said, well, I'm telling you right now. I started showing him stuff. He was great. He was like, what? That's crazy stuff. Anyhow, sorry, I didn't mean to go off course already, but it's kind of partial to what I was getting at. I got a lot of really cool things lined up for 2025. I don't name names, but I just got an invite to go somewhere in the spring of 2025, and I'm super excited to go to this place, man. I accepted immediately when they sent me that invite. I said, I'm there, you know, I am so there. But I got this field up the road here for me. It's like I said, it just the iceberg, man. I got to get in there and really take a spin in there. And I know it's going to really produce. So 2025 is looking good. My job is good, you know. It was good. The thing with my job was it was supposed to change hands to another company, and I had to jump through some certain hoops just to keep my job. But at the end, the plug was pulled and we kept our contract, and so it's kind of back to where it was. But it was a really stressful time, and I had to go through some serious courses and in classroom. And I'm not. The last time I was in a classroom, I was in the police academy in 1990. You know, and I'm like, I don't, you know, it's 34 years ago since I was in a class, so it wasn't easy for me as well. That all added on to all the stress of everything. But just having said all that, sorry, once again I'm going off. Things are shaping up to be a good 2025 for me, and I am super excited, man. Okay, man, hey, where have I been? Where was I this last year? Where was I? I took a trip to Wolf Island. It's right off Kingston, Ontario. I was invited by some, I like to call them friends of mine now, James Mathias and Ryan Pugh, from the southeastern Ontario metal detecting group. Two of the nicest guys you will ever meet. These guys just came out of nowhere, and they, you know, one day they just contacted me, started, you know, and I started commenting on some of their stuff, and they just turned out to be two of the nicest dudes ever, man. And they each got their own metal detecting channels as well. I'm not even going to get into the name of them because I know I'm going to mess them up. You know what? Tell you what. Right here, I'm going to put the names of their pages on their YouTube channels, and you got to check them out. These guys are great, man. Two guys, just two incredible guys. All right. It was so nice to get together and detect with them on Wolf Island, and wow, some pretty incredible stuff was found. Ryan found the most beautiful, really old rosettes, glass bubble rosettes with painted pictures inside. It was incredible. Like I was literally standing, it felt like I was standing in the late 1700s, early 1800s, looking at these things. It was like, oh, incredible stuff. Just two great guys, man. So that was where I went. Wolf Island, that was one of my little road trips. I did a few up to Bradford. We went to the Ridge, the legendary Ridge, Ralphie's Ridge as we call it, and the Bradford Beeper and I. And it's funny because we had gone up there so many times, and we started to say to ourselves, is the well running dry up here? Because we're starting to not find things in this field. And but this time around we went up, and the Bradford Beeper's got a Manticore, a Mine Lab Manticore, and I myself have a Nocta Legend. And I said to him, I said, listen, we're going into this field that we felt has been worked over with two brand new machines, which equals brand new technology. I said, don't be surprised if we find some stuff. And sure enough, man, we found stuff right where we were going over so many times before. I nailed another coin from 1820. We just got all kinds of incredible relics. And so, yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like I said, you know, I've always heard the old cliche, never hunted out. And that's the honest truth. Things are never hunted out, man. You just go in there sometimes. Sometimes all it takes is it's just a not a fresh perspective, but a different frame of mind. You go into a field. Sometimes I go into fields, and I go in there excited, guns blazing. Look at me! Look at me! I'm going really fast, really fast. Oh, there's a beep. Okay, let me check it out. Check it out. Then I'll go back into that same field, and I'll do this, and I'll go, and I will listen, and I will lock myself in, and then all of a sudden the signals start coming. Boom, boom. I've been over this ground, but no, the signals are there. So, low and slow. I do believe low and slow is the way to go. My problem is every time I get into the field for the first time, I get crazy and I can't go low and slow. I run around going really fast, waiting for that, like a drug addict. You know, I need that next high immediately. I need that next signal now. You know, it's what do they call it? Instant gratification. For me, when I go into a new field, I need the instant gratification. When I should be, especially at my age, 54, I should be slowing down and just, you know what I mean? Listen. It's the way to go, low and slow. All right, friends. I'm telling you, man. Where else did I go? Oh yeah, I went to a field in the spring. Oh, this was really funny. I might as well tell the story now. I went to a field in the springtime, and I went with Redbeard Relic Hunter, my old buddy Redbeard, and he's really hard to get out. He is so busy. He owns his own business, and it's window and door installation, and like this guy is he doesn't even have time to go to the bathroom, man. But I got him out the one day, and we were in this field, permission I have. And he scored an incredible. Was it something in how it was like a medallion, but it's more like a trade, a patent seal that goes on a sewing machine, and it's when we found it, we researched it. It was literally off. It was like the first patent of a sewing machine that was ever made, and he got one of the patent seals that goes on the side of the sewing machine. It was incredible, man. And I found not too far away, maybe about 150 feet from him, from where he found that, I found what I thought was I thought it was first I thought it was a inkwell pen, you know, with the pointed edge. From maybe the 1800s. So and then I looked at it and said, no, that's not what it is, man. It's a maple syrup tap that you tap into a tree. It had to be what it was. So in my video, I said, yeah, man, I think it's a maple syrup tap. Not 100% sure, but I think that's what it is. Little did I know, the whole time I was holding it, so little did I know. Now you can see where I thought, okay, it's an inkwell. Dip it in the ink and you write with it. No, it's definitely got to be the maple syrup tap. You slam it into the tree, and out comes the syrup. And I was wrong both times. So I get home, I look at it, I discard it into the trash. After I look through all my finds, into the trash it goes. I put up the video that night. Thank goodness I put it out right away. Immediately, I get a message from my friend, Rob Schinkel. Rob Schinkel messages me privately and he says, Dan, tell me you didn't throw out what you thought was the maple syrup tap. I said, yeah, man, I threw it in the trash. Why? He goes, did the trash go, is the garbage truck come by? I said, no, I think it comes tomorrow. I said, why? He said, go get it out. He said, because what you threw out was a War of 1812 era musket ramrod holder. So this is what holds the stick on the musket rifles. I think it goes through there. The stick goes through under the rifle, and you can see it's where it attaches underneath, right there, and the rod goes in. And he said to me, "This is my bucket list this is on my bucket list, and you throw this thing in the garbage. And I'm like, I had no idea what I had found. So in a mad panic, I ran out to the garbage. I ripped it open. I actually videotaped myself doing it too, being and I dug through the garbage till I found it, and there it is. I saved an incredible piece of history, right off a War of 1812 era musket rifle, a ramrod holder. How incredible is that, man? So I still thank Rob Schenkel to this day. Every time I speak to him, I say, thanks again, man, for doing that. That would have went out. I would have lost an incredible piece of history, man. So there you go. Yeah, so I got permission it's funny, this spring I got permission for another field that I've been trying to get in for a few years, and I didn't know where to go, didn't know who owned it, and talking with another one of my farmer friends, Brenda, and just chatting with her, and that's the beauty of it. You chat with people, and you show your passion about the hobby and stuff, and people want you to, they'll say, hey, try here, try there. So Brenda says to me, oh no, I was talking to her, and I said, yeah, there's a field down, do you happen to know who owns it? And I explained the cross section where it was, and she looks at me and she goes, yeah, I own it. And I'm like, are you kidding me, man? I said, I've been trying to get in there for years. I didn't know who owned it. So I said, would you mind if I go in? And she said, go ahead. She goes, you got about 1 week before the corn goes in. So I'm like, okay. And I literally went, I think it was the next day. And I got into the field, and I started detecting. And I'll tell you this, I've never seen so much trash in my life in a field. It was crazy, man. Like pop cans, and just a lot of modern trash, a lot of old trash. But I started to find a few relics here or there, and I'm like, okay, I know it's here. It's just not easy to find. So I stayed away from I'll call it ground zero. The major, where I knew the house was, that was the big debris field, but it was just so much trash. So I said, I'm gonna go around the outside, outer perimeter, and I'm gonna try out there. And so I was kind of in between where the road and the house, I was kind of in between there, the road and the front of the house, which I thought would be where the front of the house was. And all of a sudden I got a stinger of a signal. I was like, oh man, that's like 41 on the legend. I'm like, that sounds good, man. That's diggable for sure. And there was nothing around it, nothing, no yelping, just the Bradford beeper and I, we refer to it as the no-brainer signal. Clean as can be, ticking on each end. Beep, 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 like that. There's no beep, beep. It's just like beep, beep. And I said, I gotta dig that one. I think it was 2 inches down. And I flipped over the plug, and I'm looking around. Now I look over on the side, and there is this brown disc lying over there, and I'm like, oh, I might have a copper, but it looks brown. I don't see any green patina on it, but sometimes they stay brown, I don't know. So I picked it up and I started to clean it off. When I cleaned it off and I looked at it, I knew what I was looking at, but I still wasn't sure. So I Googled it, and when I Googled it, that's when I started to feel a little sick to my stomach. And what I was holding was a very dark piece of history, we'll say. It was actually a Nazi Germany. It was a medallion. And the medallion came from 1933, I think it was. Adolf Hitler, he proclaimed a day called the Day of Labor. I think it was May 1st, Day of Labor. So everybody that worked for him, tradespeople, military, and anybody that worked for Hitler at that time, but it was mostly in the trades, iron workers, things like that. He proclaimed May 1st an actual, it's called the Day of Labor, but it was a holiday. So anybody who was a laborer for him got this holiday. and apparently he issued out to everybody like a medallion type thing to say, hey, look at me, you know, I got my holiday. So apparently what I had found was one of those medallions, and I'm going to show it to you here. If you can't see it good, I'm going to maybe put it up on the screen as well after. So if you can see down on the bottom, it says 1934, and there's the Nazi swastika. I don't think you can see it. Maybe a little better there. And there's the eagle, and there's a sickle and a hammer, and it's somebody. It all represents the laborers, you know, for Hitler. So what was this doing in that field? I have no idea. I mean, I live up here in Canada. I'm east of Toronto. Why was this in this field? I don't know. You know, people have given me two different suggestions as to why it was there. Maybe it was the person who was a laborer for Hitler. Maybe came to Canada to find a better life and moved in this house that was in the field. And maybe they dropped it. That's one theory. The other one people said is maybe the person who lived in that house fought in the war, and a lot of the people would take these from people as souvenirs, and they come back. It's like, look at me, look what I found, you know. Not look what I found, look what I got. It's like a badge of honor, like, you know. It's hard to say, but it's almost like trading cards, you know. I look what I got. So I don't know, man, but I'll be honest, like, it just, knowing what this represented and how many lives were affected by, you know, the people that worked for him and everything like that, I felt very uneasy, you know, and I talked about it in my video, and my video, you know, folks, I get, you know, I average maybe 500 views of video, which is fine. I'm not out there to try to make money off of YouTube. I just do it because I love doing it. Sometimes I get 1,000, sometimes I get 2,000. You know, sometimes I get 200. Whatever, you know, I don't care. This video, after I put it out, within 3 days, had 17,000 views. And I have a feeling that somehow somebody shared it, maybe to somebody over in Europe, and then it started to circulate over there. Maybe it's a little more popular, I don't know. And I'm assuming that's where all the views came from, over in Europe. But like I said, 17,000 or just 17, I don't care. I just make them have fun. I felt, you know, hey, wow, that's really cool. But at the same time, I was saying to myself, at what cost? You know, because of this, you know, I don't know. And then I had a guy comment in the video. I had many people comment, and they said, I understand why you feel uneasy. I would too. And, you know, then I had one guy commented, what was his name? Mr. Anonymous or something like that. I can't remember. And he said, it's time to hand in your man card, buddy. If that makes you feel uneasy, sick to your stomach, time to hand in your man card. And my next video, the very first thing I addressed was Mr. Anonymous. And, you know, what a keyboard troll he was. And I was so angry, man. I said, you know what? I'm more of a man than you'll ever be. At least I'm out there in the field with feelings, finding stuff. And I have real feelings towards some of the things I find. Unlike you sitting in a basement on your key. I'm going to stop. I'm getting into it again. But I was so mad. Anyways, that was my most controversial, probably one of my most controversial finds ever. That was crazy. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about too much of my finds. You know, I definitely want to talk about the ramrod, that Nazi medallion, and the last thing I wanted to talk about, I mean, you know, I've got all kinds of stuff this year, but I didn't want to bore you guys. I just want to give you my top 3 finds, and this was definitely, I'm going to say, this was my most exciting find for sure. It's her, you know, and it's funny because I can't get too deep into this one for confidentiality reasons. I found this but I know where. It's hard to explain. I found this in a place where I'm allowed to find it. Let me put it this way. What if I had started saying to people, like I always do, you know, like, oh, hey, look what I found here, there. I know people are going to want it. They're for historical reasons. And the reason I won't give it back is because when I save history, I like to know that history is going to go to, when I return history to people, I want to know that it's going to be for the world to see, anybody to see, the public to see, not hidden away in a Rubbermaid container. And I knew if I had have said to certain people, hey, look what I found, you know, do you want it? You know, do you want it? I know it would have got disappeared into a Rubbermaid container, and I wasn't having any of that. This meant a lot more to me than this, trying to get this on display for the public to see, and it winds up in a Rubbermaid container in a dark basement. I said, no way. So I was keeping it. And you know what? I give so much stuff away. If you were to look at my finds case over there, I've been detecting 31 years. Maybe I'll show it to you after. I've been detecting 31 years, and I have not a ton of stuff to show for. I know people have been detecting 3 years, have more stuff in their cabinet than me. The reason for that is I give a lot of history back, and I give history back where it needs to go. I'll explain that in a second. But anyways, getting back to this, I'm just going to show you this. So it's an incredible Victorian era skeleton key, brass, literally untouched, not even scratched. And I'm going to tell you how I found this. It wasn't on land, it was in water. And I was in about between 5 and 6 feet of water when I say that. So if you do the math, I'm 6 feet, just 6 feet on the nose, maybe just under. I was detecting with a snorkel, walking, but detecting with a snorkel, and my buoyancy of my belly kept bringing me that. I'm trying to walk the snorkel and stay down without floating up a bit. But anyhow, I was in about 5 to 6 feet of water, because I remember my snorkel was under the water, my eyes were above, but my snorkel was under the water. And I so I use my Garrett AT Pro. That's my water machine. Incredible machine. I've had it for 7 or 8 years. It's never failed me, especially in the water. It's a beast. I love it in the water. And so I was detecting it's all sand and rock, and I come across this faint signal, beep beep. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work on this one, because as you get closer to a signal, it gets better, or if it's not a good day, it just doesn't. So I started scooping. Now try doing this when you're just your eyeballs, or you got the scoop underwater, and everything you're doing is underwater. People don't even, all they can see is this of me above the water. That's all, just my mask, and then I'll look under the water, and the water's really clear too, and I look under, and so people don't even know what I'm doing under the water there. And I'm going, and I must have been at it for about 20 minutes trying to find this signal. Mind you, my scoop, I want to get a big scoop. My scoop's not that big. But I could hear it getting better and better as I got closer, to the point where it was like, it sounded like I was right on top of a tin can. And you know what a tin can sounds like, a surface tin can. It was like, beep, 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 beep. It was incredible. I kept going, lift up, looking, and it was there. It was, I couldn't, finally, I took one scoop, and I lifted it up, and I went over with the machine, and the signal was gone. I knew it was in the scoop. So I lifted up the scoop, and I started shaking it, and all the rocks were coming down, sliding down the scoop, and all of a sudden I seen this come sliding down the scoop, and I grabbed it in my hand, And I didn't even want to open it because I was like, did I just see what I thought I saw? And I'm holding it in my hand and I'm like, what? And then I slowly opened it like this and I looked at it. And I closed it again. I'm like, oh my gosh. And my buddy, who I'll tell you a little more about after, Pete, was standing just over near the shore. And he looks at me and he goes, he can tell. I said, Pete, come here. So he's got his bathing suit on. He walks into the water. I said, you're not going to believe this. So I do the old drop, the old hand drop. I drop in his hand. He does this. He goes, I drop it. He's looking at it, and his face, he goes like this. He goes, I'll never forget. He goes, and then he looks around like this. He goes, you really found that there? I said, yeah. And he was freaking out. So, anyways, in my opinion, that was my best find of the year. It was just an absolutely incredible. I know it's not a skeleton key. It is a skeleton key, but it's more of maybe for a piece of furniture or a desk or something like that from the, like late 1800s or something. But man, just such an incredible find. It really was. And it's very sentimental to me as well. So that was definitely my best find. And it's a bit of a segue into, this year I hunted with Redbeard Relic Hunter. I talked about Ryan and James from Kingston, Ontario. I talked about the Bradford Beeper already, but you know what? I didn't talk about my buddy Pete. My buddy Pete. Now Pete's a camping buddy of mine. I've known Pete for 17 years, somewhere around there. But just for camping, we've always camped together. We go over, I invite them over for dinner. We'll go out and do stuff with them. Metal detector was never on his radar, and so I started bringing my metal detector camping. I go in the water. I can tell he's like, what do you got? What are you doing out there? So I could tell he's getting a little more interested. And finally says to me one day, he goes, hey, I have a metal detector too. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Pete? You got a metal? I didn't even know that. He said, well, I bought it for my kids. My kids don't care about it. He said, but I like to take it out around. And Pete lives on a property, I guess his house is about just over 100 years old, maybe a little more. So he swings on his own property. He's found, I think, a pocket watch and some cool little things. And so I could tell he was a little more interested. So I said, Pete, I tell you what, why don't you come out with us, man? We'll go in a field. You don't have to worry about digging on somebody's lawn, whatever. And you can, have at her, man, And he's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So I wound up giving him my Noctis Simplex, and I just gifted it to him. He had a bounty hunter, which it worked. I never knock bounty hunter, man, because so many people have got their start with bounty hunters. But the Noctis Simplex that I had was just found as like a beast, man. It's just really good machine. So I gifted it to him, and that was it. And then he started coming out with us, man. He's come out on a few. He came out on a few hunts with us this year. And the funny thing about Pete is he's still a bit of a skeptic. Like you find a coin. Like another thing. He was with us. We were at this field, and I found a coin. I couldn't identify it, but by the perforated edges around it, somebody online said to me, that's a KG3, but I could not identify it on the face of the coin. But they said that's a KG3, and everything I looked at online points to that. And I said to Pete, I said, that coin is, late 1700s. And Pete goes, that's a load of. So the funny thing about Pete is he's a bit of a skeptic, and he was there when I found it, and he said, I'm calling BS on that. He goes, you planted that. you know, it's just, I guess it's hard to fathom that you can pull this incredible stuff out. But I said, Pete, when you find your first old coin, you're gonna realize, oh yeah, it can happen, you know. So, but yeah, no, Pete is, and I know he's more into it. He's going out on his own, and he's starting to try to get permissions as well. And I gave him the nickname Pistol Pete, which I think everyone calls him Pistol Pete anyways. But yeah, and so he's Pistol Pete, and he's one of the gang now. So we invite him out every time, and if he can make it, he can. If not, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, how cool is that? I'm not gonna get, you know, I don't want to make this too long. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. 2025. What can I say? I think I'm gonna get a little bit more time out there. And yeah, and to everybody else out there who detects, you know, I should at least say this every once a year, so I do it in my wrap-up videos. Folks, you know, be good to each other online, all right? I'm seeing incredible things online, wonderful, beautiful things people write, you know, to each other, raising each other up, but there's still the odd person out there who just, you know, it's just, don't try to better yourself by knocking people down a few pegs, all right? That's not how it works. You want to raise people up and praise them. That's how the hobby works, man. And everybody does that to everybody, and it's a good community of people. So essentially the word bullying is what I'm talking about. There's no room for that. The other one I find, which still, you know, the Bradford Beeper, we do this behind the scenes, but we message each other and we send screenshots back and forth. It's like the planting and fakery is, you know, it's as strong as ever out there, and it's just embarrassing. You know, people come back and they go, and I know there are days, you know, there are days when you're gonna have a day of a lifetime. You're gonna find 7 coppers and 4 silvers, and it's like, you know, everybody has that day. But you don't have that day every day you go out. I'm sorry, man. Especially in public parks and stuff. It's just, it doesn't happen. And you know, when you post online, well, I got, you know, hey, I got 12 silvers today, not bad. And they'll post a photo of them. You know, half of them look like they came from a flea market. And I'm like, you know, this is the kind of hobby, unfortunately, I've come to realize, especially for myself making videos, I need to videotape the authenticity. It's a big word for me, authenticity of my finds on video as it's happening. When I find something, it's got to be documented. Like this here, I didn't document this. I wasn't videotaping. I feel funny about this, just, you know, because I know where I found it and how I found it, but I wasn't documenting it because I don't really videotape in the water much anymore. But I try every time I find something, pull out the camera and I say, oh, I think I got something here, and we clean it together. I always say, you and I together, here we go, let's find this together. I clean it up with you watching on video live in real time. I just see too many people just posting stuff, and I'm like, you know, you just know, and it's like, it's a little embarrassing. But what I'm really getting at in all this is, who gets affected by this the most? It's the people who are new in the hobby, who are just starting out, and they're the people that find all the nails, pop tabs, you know, bottle caps, and they find maybe a couple of modern pennies, and that's, to them, that's a treasure trove, and for me, I believe it is as well, because they went out there and they found that stuff, and that's treasure, man. I don't care if it's a bottle cap or what it is. They went out there, they found that stuff. Good on them. But when you say post, yeah, I got 12 silvers today, you know, not bad. That hurts the people who watch these videos for inspiration, and they just go, you know, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And I've heard too many times people quit the hobby because they said, I'll never be like that. I can't do that. I can't find 12 silvers. I feel like telling them, well, neither do they, you know, but it's just, so if you want to feel your superiority, whatever you want to say about, you know, like, look at me, you know, every time out I find this, you know, you're in the hobby for the wrong reasons, all right? You really are. Let's all be humble out there and you know what, be happy with what you find. We're all gonna have that day where we do find. You know, I think my biggest day was 4 coppers and a bunch of relics, but I think I was only 4 coppers was my, or maybe 6 coppers was my biggest day ever, and I've been doing it 31 years, you know. So anyways, best way to be in this hobby is be humble, you know. What else can I say about code of ethics? Fill in your holes. When I say fill in your holes, folks, I mean really, the camper's code, you know, when you walk away, it was like you were never there, you know. That's how you want to be. You don't want to leave holes turned over, and I hear too many horror stories about stuff like this, man. People posting online photos. I showed up to detect this park and I had to walk away because there's gopher holes everywhere, and you know, it's just disgusting. Come on, man. You know, we really need to be good ambassadors to the hobby, all right? I think that's how I'm gonna finish that off, this video. I'm gonna finish it off like that. You know, and I'm just gonna say, folks, my wish for everybody in 2025 is that your pouches runneth over with treasure. But it's legit treasure. All right, if you know what I mean. Hey, look, I'm standing here. It almost looks like I'm holding this coin. Look. Like me in the video. No, I think I'm cool in that video. Anyhow, folks, let's all have a good 2025, all right? Be safe out there. Be good to one another.